Hi everyone and welcome back to Altcoin Goddess. Today we're diving into a topic that is a bit off the usual crypto track but incredibly relevant to everyone concerned with financial integrity. We're examining the case of the Private Bank of Andorra, commonly known as BPA, and a scandal involving abuse of power that led to the bank's downfall. This story touches all of us because it reveals how deep political and financial manipulation can go. This action was not only unfair but it also caused investors to lose hundreds of millions of dollars. In March 2015, the Andorran government, backed by Spanish officials, took control of BPA after the US Treasury's FinCEN accused the bank of money laundering. But later, it turned out that this move was influenced by wider political goals coming from the US, Spain, and Andorra. Even though these serious accusations led to the bank being shut down, no one was ever convicted for money laundering linked to BPA, and the charges were later withdrawn. FinCEN took back its accusations. Spanish courts cleared both BPA and its directors, but Andorra still has not admitted any responsibility for what happened. With that being said, guys, let's go through everything and find out what actually happened behind all of this. After everything that happened with FinCEN, Andorra, and the shutdown of BPA, it became clear that 8 years ago, the Andorran authorities allegedly worked together to bring down BPA by making up false stories about money laundering. Later investigations and even personal confessions revealed that these authorities were acting on political motives the entire time. The United States wanted to show it was taking international money laundering seriously, Spain was trying to weaken Catalan influence, and the Andorran authorities were trying to protect their own local banks from any anti-corruption investigations. Just 72 hours after FinCEN announced the start of their investigation, BPA's CEO was arrested and he ended up staying in prison for 2 years, even though no charges were ever filed against him. The arrest was based on a false statement for someone who was taken across the border into Andorra by Spanish police. Between 2007 and 2014, several independent investigations were carried out and none of them found any signs of money laundering at BPA. And even after all the claims and the forced shutdown of the bank by Andorran authorities, no one has ever been convicted for financial crimes or money laundering related to BPA. The courts in Spain also ruled that there was no evidence of any of these activities, but the Andorran government still denies having done anything wrong. After all that, senior politicians in Andorra passed new laws and used inside information about the closure of BPA to protect their own assets. The government created a new bank called Val Bank to take over BPA's assets, but this only made things worse. Val Bank refused to accept over a third of BPA's assets, which caused huge financial losses for thousands of customers and investors. On July 14th of 2016, the private U.S. equity firm J.C. Flowers bought Val Bank from the Andorran authorities. They got it for 86% less than the original value, which showed how serious the financial damage from this case really was. After all that damage was done to BPA, the timeline of events shows how fast things escalated and how deep the legal mess became, as between 2016 and 2019 more legal cases followed. The Cierco brothers sued the Andorran authorities for the damage caused by how BPA was taken over, and during that time, Spanish court cleared both BPA and its financial director of any money laundering charges. In 2021 and 2022, Spanish financial authorities also dismissed the remaining money laundering claims. Meanwhile, lawsuits against both Spanish and Andorran officials were still going on, as they were being held responsible for how the BPA case was handled. By that point, Andorra was even called a threat to the rule of law in Europe because of the way politics were interfering with the banking system. And after seeing how the timeline played out, it's clear that the whole BPA scandal was built on accusations of money laundering that were pushed for political reasons instead of actual evidence. Even though multiple audits proved that BPA had done nothing wrong, their CEO was still arrested, never charged, and the bank's assets were eventually sold off for way less than they were worth to a private equity firm. Legal battles are still ongoing, and BPA's shareholders are suing both the US Treasury and FinCEN for acting without proper cause. In the end, thousands of BPA's clients faced huge financial losses, but no one has ever been found guilty of any money laundering crimes, and the role of the Andorran government in shutting down the bank is still being questioned. Even after all this time, the case has not been resolved, and it continues to show how political decisions can affect legal and financial systems. But many people are still saying that they've suffered serious consequences from this scandal. Some say that they have been treated unfairly, lost large amounts of money, and even had their freedom threatened. There are still reports of officials using pressure, including with Interpol involved, to force these people into giving up part of their wealth to avoid legal trouble or even possible jail. Guys, this is still all happening today, and it shows how serious and risky the whole situation remains for anyone affected by what happened with BPA. After everything that is still happening today and all the pressure people are still facing, it really makes you think about the balance between power and justice. How can there be real accountability in international finance when actions like this are allowed to happen without consequences? There are still many people out there dealing with the damage caused by this, and the case remains open with no real closure. There has to be more focus on transparency and fairness in the global financial system, and people definitely need to keep asking questions and paying attention to cases like this, because these things do not just disappear. Thanks so much for being here and watching this video. If you found it valuable or eye-opening, please give it a like, share it with your community, and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss more content like this. This is your almighty altcoin goddess signing off.